everyone, and welcome to another edition of Thought Leadership Thursday. I'm Dr. Jane Bach, a baker and influencer, and today we are going to be talking a little bit about whole wheat flour quality testing. So to get started, we have with us here Lena Bosquet. And Lena, could you tell us just a little bit about yourself and what you do at KPM Analytics?
Yes, of course I can. Thank you, Jane. I have an education in engineering and in food science, specialized in cereal industry. I work for Chopin Technology, which is part of KPM Analytics since 2014. Funny story, I was originally hired as an intern to validate my engineering degree. After 6 months, they decided to keep me. So that's great. And now for more than 9 years, I occupied different positions within Chopin and KPM. And now I manage the food products and applications team. So basically, in a few words, the objective of this team consists in ensuring the development of new applications and the promotion of Chopin products. So we provide personalized solutions to customers willing to improve control of their products and of their processes all over the world. And finally, my responsibilities at Chopin also include the standardization of the developed methods, working closely with various associations, as you know, such as Cereals and Grain, AACC, or ISO, ICC, etc., etc. On a more personal note, I have a partner for almost 10 years that I met in Chopin, and we just had a baby together, so I'm a little bit sleep deprived.
Well, congratulations. Obviously, you're busy on many, many fronts, so we really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today.
Well, this is very fun.
Of course. So KPM Analytics and Chopin Technologies in particular provide a variety of technical solutions for bakers and millers alike to better understand the quality of their flour. So tell us a little bit about KPM Analytics, Chopin Technologies, and some of the solutions that you offer to millers and bakers.
Yeah, absolutely. So KPM Analytics as a group offers a very wide variety of analytical solutions covering the entire cereal production chain, from plant breeding and ingredient production to the final product. So basically, you can divide our solutions in 3 main categories. You have the NIR technologies that can be used either in the quality lab or at line to analyze the full spectrum of moisture and compositional characteristics of the flours and other ingredients. So there are many calibrations for a variety of dry and wet ingredients to help bakers and millers control quality parameters, which can significantly impact the final products. So this is the first category. And then you have, and this is more specific to Chopin, functional and rheological analyzers. So basically, by analyzing the dough, this technology provides simple and intuitive solutions to help bakers simulate the baking process. And through that, collect critical data on the behavior without having to conduct the entire process. And so without having to spend extra time or waste product on something that is not adapted. And then there is a third category, which consists in vision system implementations. And those systems allow manufacturers to objectively measure their final products. So dimension, color, size, etc., etc., in order to reduce the time required to perform scheduled quality checks and allow for important, but sometimes previously unmeasurable characteristics to be easily quantified and recorded, such as, for instance, the hole diameter in a bagel. So in conclusion, from the analysis of raw ingredients and products through the preparation and baking process to the final vision inspection of finished goods, KPM Analytics will enable companies to effectively manage product quality and brand value. This is our objective.
Right. And through KPM Analytics, you provide a full range of solutions, both for processing as well as raw ingredient characterization. But today, let's focus in a little bit on our topic, which is whole wheat flour. So traditionally, whole wheat flour has been tested using methods that were originally developed for refined or white flours. What are some of the challenges that you've found that arise when you try to assess or evaluate a whole wheat flour with a non-whole wheat method?
So this is certainly the most important questions of all. And to answer to this question, we need to go back to the basics and try and give a definition of what is a whole wheat flour. So this is a work in progress still, this definition at various levels, at the ISO level, at the cereals and grains level, at the ICC level. So still a work in progress, but there is a definition that seems to be quite, well, definitive now, and which is the following. And basically, the most important part of this definition is that all anatomical components, including the endosperm, the germ, the bran of the wheat kernel, must be present in the flour in the same relative proportions as in the intact kernel. So that is really the main point. And what does that mean in terms of difference with white flour or with refined flour is that, well, it's the high presence of bran. And bran contains a very high level of fibers, as we know. And that is a challenge. That is a challenge because fibers have various impacts on the rheology of the dough and on the final product characteristics. And when it comes to the characteristics of the dough, we cannot handle white flour dough and a whole wheat flour dough the same way, because whole wheat flour will absorb a lot of water, first of all. There is that, and also the kinetic of absorption is not the same. White flour will absorb water much more rapidly than a whole wheat flour. Also, and this is a big difference, the gluten network in whole wheat flour is not as continuous as with white flour because it is disrupted by bran and germ particles. So that will impact the leavening of the dough. It will not take place effectively, and the final volume is usually lower. So, as you said, we have a tendency to test whole wheat flour with what we know, with the methods that are at our disposals and that have been originally created for white flours. We can see, given the differences between white flours and whole wheat flour, that those methods are not adapted.
So obviously, there are a lot of challenges to accurately assessing the quality of whole wheat flour. What are some of the test modifications that have to be made when converting from assessing a refined or a white flour to assessing a whole wheat flour?
That will really depend on the considered method. All methods do not have the same challenges. And so we need to adapt really method by method what we do. Some will require heavy modifications, and some can practically be used as it is. So let me give you a few examples. So please come with me into the lab. So first, there is the Rio F4 that is here. The Rio F4 is an equipment that will measure the proofing characteristics of a dough. It will measure the dough development during proofing, but also the gas retention and the gas production. And that gives us a complete overview really of the proofing characteristics of the dough. For running a Rio F4 test with a whole wheat flour, no modifications were performed for the test itself, only modifications on how the dough was made, but that's it. So this method is used as it is. Then we have other methods. For example, we have the mix lab that is right here. And the Mixolab is a great tool. The Mixolab is an analyzer that will record the evolution of the consistency of a dough submitted to mixing, but also to temperature changes. And that gives us information about many characteristics of the flour, such as water absorption, but also stability, development time. And thanks to the fact that the temperature can be modified, we also have access to additional data, such as the gelatinization of the starch, the amylasic activity, but also the starch retrocodation, etc., etc. And I think when it comes to adapting these instruments to the analysis of whole wheat flour, Jane, you could speak about it as well as I do, because you were part of, we developed the method on whole wheat flour with the Mixolab in collaboration with your team at the Wheat Marketing Center. And here, to develop this protocol, basically you have tested many possibilities. And in the end, only one modification was really relevant. And it was to increase the mixing speed in order to facilitate the dough development, to have a dough development that occurs more rapidly. And that's it. So this method did not require a lot of modifications. The project was important because we tested many possibilities, but in the end, the modification required to fully analyze whole wheat flour was not so important. And then finally, we have another instrument, another method that required a lot of modification. So come back to the original place. Here it is. This is the Alveolab instrument here. So just to give a few words about what is an alveograph. An alveograph will measure the dough rheological characteristics by measuring the properties of a bubble of dough as it is inflating. By doing that, we will see parameters such as the tenacity, the extensibility, the elasticity of the dough, which are really key when it comes to processing a dough. And this case of adapting the alveograph to whole wheat flour is really particularly interesting, as well, it is not a recent equipment. It is not a recent method. This equipment is recent, but the method is in the field for more than 100 years now. And for the longest time, people have been trying to develop a method to blow a bubble made with 100% whole wheat flour. But the truth is, traditional alveograph simply did not work with whole wheat flour. And it was the case until 2016, when we have launched the final version, the most recent one of the alveograph, which is called the Alveolab. So this is this instrument right here, which is way more versatile than the previous versions. It allows to modify all parameters of the protocol, including the mixing speed, including the different times, the temperatures, or even the airflow that we use to inflate the bubble. So basically, the final protocol that we selected here to adapt to the whole wheat flour challenges requires a higher hydration, so 60% instead of 50% with the standard protocol for white flour. The kneading speed was also increased to ensure an optimum development of the gluten network. And the flow rate, the swelling rate of the bubble also was lowered in order to ensure a smooth deformation of the dough. So that are the main modification. And so if you'd like, I would like to show you a little bit what kind of bubble we can obtain with an alveograph and using whole wheat flour. So I have prepared a dough already, so I just need to launch my tests. Here we go. So if you are interested, so this is a patty of whole wheat flour, right? So this one is whole wheat flour that is used here in France for making croissant, whole wheat croissant. but never mind, the method is the same, whatever whatever the final product we do. It will be ready in a second. Here we are. So let's just it's a little bit sticky, that's normal. Here it is. So the dough is loading automatically into the Alveolab, and it will be flattened also automatically. And in the end, the bubble will be blown. So we are waiting for this bubble. And here we are. And it has ruptured. Good. Perfect. So yeah, as you can see now, we are able to make a real bubble using an Alveolab method, and that is a real success for us.
That's excellent. Obviously, you've been heavily involved in modifying the test to be more applicable to whole wheat flours. So thank you for showing the all the instrumentation, first of all, but also demonstrating the Alveolab method for whole wheat flour, because that's a really big advancement for evaluation of rheological properties of whole wheat flours. And with new, I shouldn't say new tests, but with modified tests like this, it's getting easier and easier to assess the quality of whole wheat flours. So how can millers and bakers look at these results and apply them to their operations to maybe avoid issues on the production line, for example?
Well, first of all, as protocols are not the same, the results that we obtain also are not the same than with the standard protocol. So they cannot be directly compared. This is really a complete shift in the framework of reference. But that doesn't prevent us to use the data that we obtain with whole wheat flour the same way as we use the data for white flour. And that means, for instance, build specifications based on what bakers really need to characterize the impact of additives and other ingredients, or even to analyze dough taken from the line. There are many possibilities that we can explore, and those possibilities are really the same as with white flour. What we do by developing this protocol is just, well, now we have a way of measuring. And these measurements now, they are yours. And so you do exactly whatever you want with those.
That's a really good point, that you don't necessarily need to run the method with flour. You can pull dough from the line. You can adjust the method to kind of fit your needs. So these new whole wheat flour methods that you've been developing, excuse me, provide better opportunities for millers and bakers to screen whole wheat flour and whole wheat doughs for different baking applications, to understand how it's going to behave on the line when you add different improvers, different enzymes, for example. One of the questions that always comes up when we start talking about whole wheat flour is the question of other whole grains. So do you have methods or resources available through Chopin Technologies and KPM Analytics for testing of other whole grain flours that maybe aren't wheat-based?
Well, as the use of this kind of products, whole wheat grain, whole wheat flour in general is relatively new. So is our work, and so is our experience with this kind of ingredients. We have been doing feasibility studies for many whole grain flours, such as oats and rye, for instance. So we do have some protocols that work for these kind of products. And of course, there is not only our work. You can also check the literature and see that the Mixolab, for instance, has been used to characterize numerous whole grain flours. You have spelt, you have quinoa, you have many different possible applications. And of course, well, we are always looking for partnerships in order to extend our knowledge. So if anyone is interested in this kind of applications, please feel free to contact us, and we would be really excited to work on these kind of applications.
Well, Lena, thank you very much for spending time with us today, answering our questions, and of course, taking us through that demo of the Alveolab. If any of our viewers are interested in more information, you are welcome to reach out to Chopin Technologies and KPM Analytics directly. You can click on the link below in the description box, or you can go to the sponsor showcase page, click on the link there, and find more resources at Chopin Technologies. Any final thoughts, Lena, before we close today?
Well, not much. I would just like to thank you very much, Jane, for your time, and thanks to Bakerpedia to give us the opportunity to discuss our solutions. And I would like also to thank Jessica, who you need not see, but she's my camera woman today. So she's the reason that we were able to show you the lab and show you the bubble. So thank you very much, Jessica.
Yes, thank you, Jessica. Again, one more time, thank you, Lena. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in today for this episode of Thought Leadership Thursday.